Okay, so we have Mr. James here, who is a history teacher at a school in East Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you so much, Richard, for joining
No
us.
problem. No problem.
So Richard and I were talking um, about some things in history class, things about the national anthem and about the Pledge of Allegiance, and we were talking about whether it's okay to stand or kneel during while people are singing or saying those things. And um, Mr. James had told me that he did not feel that that song was written for him because there is not justice for all
Hmm.
in America. And I asked Mr. James, if he had a personal experience with not being treated fairly. And so, could you tell me a little bit about that, about your experiences with that?
Yeah, not a problem. So, I think just for me growing up in Walpole, seeing the Confederate flag everywhere, I was sort of confused by it because I felt as though I knew what it meant. And to see other people with it, it didn't make sense that they would be willing to I felt like I was being just disrespected, and I didn't feel as though I did anything to deserve that. Um,
And then let me ask you, why did you feel disrespect? I mean, what does the Confederate flag mean to you?
So to me, the Confederate flag it shows that you are somebody that is a supporter of slavery. You are somebody that wanted to continue slavery. The Confederate flag, um, we fought them. We fought the Confederates in the Civil War, and they were the losers of a war. And the reason why we were fighting was because they did not want to abolish slavery. The flag that they had was the Confederate flag. I mean, to me, there's no other meaning about it. If we look at how the Confederate flag progressed later on, I think Nazis and also people in the KKK used it. So there's never been a positive outlook on the Confederate flag, and particularly up north, we're here in Massachusetts. There's no place for the Confederate flag in Massachusetts. So
Okay.
things that I saw where there were mothers from the football team in high school, they would take trips to Virginia and they would pick up Confederate flag license plates, keychains, towels, and they would have them all in their cars. I mean, I remember times walking home in the dark because there weren't a lot of streetlights where I lived, and you see a truck pulled over that has a Confederate flag license plate on the back, and then all of a sudden the truck stops, and then I have to make a choice: do I cross the street to the side where the coyotes are, or do I walk past this truck? And I literally thought that I was going to die.
Oh my gosh. And you had said that people drove around with the flag in their truck
Yeah,
driving.
so people would have just like how you would have like a Patriots flag on your car, just like waving. People had Confederate flags like just like on their cars riding around. Um, and when I was in middle school, part of the curriculum was to draw the high school, which had a Confederate flag on it. So technically, my part of my curriculum was to draw a Confederate flag in school. The high school that I went to, we had a Confederate flag in front of the high school as well.
Wow. And were there many black people that went to your high school?
So we had Metco, which was a program that brings students from the city into what they call as better schools. So I'd probably say we had maybe a 2% minority population at the school.
Okay. And so most of the people, oh, excuse me, most of the people that lived in your town, were there black people that actually lived in your town and went to your school, or was all the
Um,
black people bussed in?
so I only knew of one other black family that lived in my town.
Okay.
I didn't know of any other black people that lived in the town. No.
And so you had to go to a school where the mascot was a rebel and
Yes.
had the Confederate flag,
Yes.
and you said that they made you sing the song and memorize the words. Is it still like that? Do you know?
So if you Google Walpole and Confederate flag, you'll see like a ton of information. So my senior year, which was 2004, was the first year they banned Confederate flags from being at the games. In terms of do they still sing Dixie, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they still sing Dixie. It's possible they do. The way that we sang it was also in a very upbeat fashion. So we didn't just sing it slow. We sang it like, oh, I wish it wasn't Atacama, some there in Africa, away, away, and Dixie, when dreams are born. So we sang it really, really fast. I
Okay.
think that could have had something to do with the fact because of the lyrics. But I remember being in high school and playing like other teams and then like seeing other students, like minority students, and then coming up to me and be like, what's up with the flag? And I'm like, I don't know. You know? Or like just like seeing, you know, your peers with like Confederate flag bandanas. And you're like, what's happening here? You know?
How did that make you feel?
I would say really bad just because like, so I was like, that's a Confederate flag. And they would argue with me like, no, it's a rebel flag. It has nothing to do with the Confederacy. It's just a rebel flag. So it felt more of like growing up in Walpole, I felt as though the world that I lived in was for white people and I was just like in the way. That was how I felt growing up in Walpole. It wasn't until I got older and went to college that I was able to like advocate for myself. So that's why I'm like so passionate about like advocating for myself, others, and also about race. Just because of how I was made to feel when I was younger.
Well, I am really sorry that you felt that way. And I'm sorry that you had to deal with a situation where you told people how you felt and they argued with you rather than listen to you and listen
Yeah.
to how you were feeling. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your experiences. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for active listening.
You're welcome.